The sun edges over the desert horizon like a glowing coin being slowly lifted from a bowl of sand. You squint at it, or maybe it squints back. It's hard to tell. Either way, this sunrise isn't just another pretty picture for the ancient Egyptians. It's their daily stopwatch, their divine calendar, and the signal that it's time for everyone, from the royal astronomer to the barley farmer, to get moving. You're standing in the middle of a small village not far from Thebes. The air smells faintly of bread baking in clay ovens, and a sleepy goat bleats somewhere nearby, sounding almost as unmotivated as you on a Monday morning. People stretch, yawn, and get to work in a rhythm so predictable you could hum along to it. Egypt's farmers, let's be honest, about 90% of the population live and breathe by the sun. They wake when it appears, rest when it blazes too high, and finish when it dips toward the horizon. But it's not just convenience, it's survival. The crops, the animals, the irrigation ditches, all of it depends on sunlight. You watch a man kneel in the field, pressing his fingers into the soil. His life depends on knowing exactly when the Nile will flood and when the earth will dry enough for planting. The annual flood, or Akhit, is the heartbeat of Egypt. Without it, everything stops. And so people have become experts at reading light, shadow, and season. But humans being humans, we can't resist organizing everything, even the sky. Egyptian priests, mathematicians, and early astronomers start charting the sun's rise and fall like accountants with star maps. They notice that certain stars appear just before dawn in specific seasons. One in particular, the bright star Sirius, known to them as Sopdet, always returns right before the Nile floods, like clockwork. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians first used Sopdet to mark the year, or whether it was the flood cycle that came first. It's one of those chicken and papyrus debates that makes academics smile wistfully, and then immediately write 40-page papers. Still, that connection between the heavens and the harvest becomes the backbone of Egyptian life. The priests at Heliopolis, the sun temple, declare that time itself is sacred, and that keeping it properly is an act of devotion. Every sunrise is a tiny ceremony, light chasing darkness, order triumphing over chaos, coffee not yet invented. You stroll closer to the temple, where a group of priests is already gathering. They wear crisp linen robes, their heads shaved smooth, and they move with the steady precision of people who have rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. A massive obelisk looms nearby, its polished surface catching the early rays and splitting the light like an ancient sundial on steroids. That's not a metaphor, by the way. It literally functions as a sundial. The shadow of the obelisk marks the hours of the morning, shifting across carefully carved lines in the courtyard. The priests track these shadows to decide when it's time for prayers, offerings, and even breakfast. You can almost hear the head priest muttering, "If Ra wanted us to sleep in, he wouldn't make the shadows move." A novice priest approaches you timidly, carrying a piece of wood shaped like a stretched triangle. It's an early shadow clock, a portable sundial of sorts. He places it on the ground, lines it up east to west, and watches the tiny shadow slide across its face. It's a brilliant bit of engineering, but it comes with one rather glaring flaw. It only works when the sun is out. So when it rains, or worse, when there's cloud cover, the whole system collapses. Egypt doesn't get much rain, but when it does, it apparently confuses everyone. People miss appointments, temple rituals start late, and some poor official probably blames it on the cat gods. Still, for the most part, it works beautifully. You can almost see how addictive it must have been. This idea that you could see time move, right there on the ground. The Egyptians had essentially invented the daily planner, minus the guilt. One papyrus fragment even shows drawings of shadow clocks designed for different latitudes, meaning they knew that shadows behave differently depending on where you stand on Earth. This isn't just clever, it's borderline cosmic. You realize that, in a world with no watches, these people were already thinking like astronomers. There's a lovely irony to it, too. While priests tracked celestial time, most villagers didn't bother counting hours. Their schedules were simpler. Wake when the light hits your eyelids, eat when your stomach growls, and rest when the mosquitoes start winning. Still, even they looked to the horizon with reverence. The sun wasn't just light, it was Ra's daily commute, proof that the universe hadn't fallen apart overnight. Yep. You watch as the day unfolds. The fields hum with quiet labor, the markets open, and temple singers start their hymns. Bells made of copper and shells jingle faintly in the breeze, marking rhythm rather than exact time. Then, as the sun climbs higher, something catches your attention. A series of carved markers on a wall that seem to count smaller intervals of the day. You trace them with your fingers. This, you realize, is the beginning of hours. The Egyptians divided the daylight into 12 parts and the night into 12 more. Of course, 12 wasn't chosen for mystical reasons. It's just a handy number that divides nicely. Also, you can count to 12 on one hand if you include the knuckles. Try it, it's weirdly satisfying. Yep. So there you are, in the bright glare of the desert morning, realizing that this civilization, without gears, without glass, without Wi-Fi, has already invented the concept of time slots. You can practically hear an ancient version of a meeting reminder. Offer incense to Ra and 10 shadows, or you're late again, Hormheb. You shade your eyes and glance at the obelisk one more time. The shadow is moving, the priests are nodding, and somewhere, Ra is blazing happily across the sky. Egypt's day is in perfect order for now. But as you'll see soon enough, a new problem is brewing. The night still refuses to be tamed, and the Egyptians are about to find out that counting shadows won't help much when darkness takes over. And so, they'll turn to something else entirely, something fluid, shimmering, and quietly ingenious. Water,